Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to go over our first product review, and what we're going to look at is the Under Armour JBL Sport Train headphones. These have been out for a while, and I've used them for a number of different exercises, different workouts, and I'll go over how they fit, and also more important, how they sound. So before I get into those categories, I'd like to address one small thing that I really appreciate, and that is the case itself. And the reason why is because they included 8 different perforations on the case, and that's really good for ventilation. So if you're someone like me who will put their headphones in their backpack, and I basically use my backpack for work and also for working out. So I'll put my headphones in there when I'm done with a workout, I'll put them in the case, and then I'll stick them back in the backpack. I'm usually pretty good with when I get home, I'll take the headphones out to let them dry. But the nice thing about this case is the fact that they thought of that and they put in these 8 different perforation spots so they can actually dry while inside the case. That's not going to make or break an experience in terms of buying a headphones or even influence my decision. I just think it's a nice little touch that I've never seen before, so I appreciate that. Now, for the headphones. These headphones have been out for a while, so this isn't a new product, but if you are looking for something that's specifically for working out, for sports, if you're a runner, if you're a lifter, and in my case I'll talk about using them while lifting. And I think that's great because what you'll normally see with regular headphones not designed for working out, headphones that are more just for easy listening, casual environments, maybe on a commute somewhere or just at home, is the fact that they have certain features that are specific to working out. And first thing I'm going to talk about is going to be the ear cups. And so the pads themselves, I don't know if you guys can see that, they are perforated themselves, they breathe, and they dry fast. A lot of times when you have leather ear cups or you have pleather or anything like that, they tend to stay moist and they tend to hold on to your sweat. Whereas these and anything like them, there's other companies that have made sport specific headphones. They have these ear cups and they make a big difference. If you've never tried them before, I suggest either trying out a pair if you can, or even just buying one and just seeing for yourself. Because if you sweat, and I tend to sweat quite a bit when I work out, it's a nice touch. It really makes a difference. You feel it. Because as your headphones stay dry, or just don't get as wet from your sweat, it makes a difference. So that it's not annoying, it's not something that you're constantly feeling on your ears, and something that I like. Now for fit. These are on-ear headphones. That's something to know right off the bat. So if you really prefer over-the-ear headphones where the ear cup comes around the ears, you might not like these. Okay, so that's something just to know right off the bat, is that these are on-ear headphones. They're going to rest on your ears, and they'll stay secure, but just know that that's the fit for them. So if I put them on real quick for you guys, they have a nice snug fit. The clamping force isn't too much. Now if you're used to very loose fitting headphones, it might feel tight, especially right out of the box. But for someone who works out, that's actually pretty important so that they're not going to slide off very easily. And for, I think the only exercise where they actually do come loose on me and might slip off is something explosive. So if I'm doing something like a pendlay row, or if I'm doing like a really heavy power clean, they tend to slide a little bit. But for pretty much everything else, snatches, clean and jerks, they're normally pretty good with staying in place. And that's very important to me, because otherwise I would have to use something like earbuds that stay in the ears, and then that way they have a much less chance of popping out. And with over-the-ear headphones or on-ear headphones or anything that has a headband, that's something lifters and runners have to deal with. So we have to be pretty picky when it comes to what we put on our heads for sound. Now, when it comes to just the idea of using these for workouts, using them for different exercises, for conventional exercises like a bench press, a deadlift, an overhead press, they're not going to move at all. It's really only the power exercises. If you're somebody into high intensity interval training, doing things like burpees, doing things that involve a lot of fast motion, that's where you really test a pair of headphones in terms of how well they stay on. And these stay on pretty well. And again, really only if I go really heavy with something, maybe like a power clean. And for me personally, the only time they've actually come off is with really heavy Penley rows. It's the only exercise they've really actually come off of my head. And then again, that's when I went really heavy. I can usually do upwards of 225, 245, maybe even 255, and they won't come off. But once I go past that, like 275 and up, they start to come off. And so when I'm going really heavy on that exercise, in my experience, it's the only time when they actually slid off my ears. Getting into sound quality. These headphones sound decent, and they sound good for the most part. You might read reviews that say that they have a lot of bass or that they're very bass heavy, and I think you need to put that into context. They are bass heavy in relation to the mids and the treble. So if you take the three and you were to put some adjustments here and there and kind of relate one to the other, the bass would probably be the standout. Now that doesn't mean they have a ton of bass. It's just that in relation to the mids and the treble, the bass is higher. That is true. But if you buy these and anticipating a ton of bass and really getting like a head shaking vibration type of bass, these are going to disappoint you, because when you might read other reviews, you might see that people are saying they have a ton of bass, they're bass heavy, but it's not quite that big. It's not that dramatic. In relation to the mids and the highs, sure, they have a decent amount of bass, but especially right out of the box, they sound a little bit more flat. And when I put these on for the first week or so, it felt like and it sounded like a flat frequency. So I was disappointed, and in fact, I'll be honest, I thought about resending them back and either getting a refund or trying something else, because of the fact that I thought and I had anticipated, maybe that's my own expectation, but with the reviews that I had seen and heard and read, they said they're a lot of bass. And again, they have some bass. It's not bad. It's decent. In relation to the mids and the treble, sure, you could say they're bass heavy in relation to those other frequencies, but I wouldn't say that these have a ton of bass in them. Now, when it comes to volume, that's where I would give the biggest knock on these, because they just don't get loud enough. I mean, I don't like to have volume so high that I'm going to damage my hearing, but I do like to turn up the music when I'm working out. So I find that I'm always topping these out. So even if I were to just turn them on, connect them to my phone, and we're at whatever volume they're set at, I would start to increase to get to what I think is good enough. I'm always hitting that limit, the maximum volume. And I wish it would go up at least a couple more clicks. Then I would say that sure, they would be loud enough. Now don't get me wrong, you can hear the music just fine. It's acceptable. But if we're talking my preference, I would have liked to have been able to go a little bit higher with the volume. It seems like there's a bit of a limiter on it, and maybe for the best. But when it comes to music and working out, I like to have a little bit more volume in it. Otherwise, they get decently loud. You'll hear your music just fine. But at the end of the day, I like to turn them up, especially when I go a little bit heavier. And the very last thing I want to talk about these headphones is going to be the talk-through function. So if you take a look at that Under Armour logo, that's actually a button. And this is becoming much more common with headphones nowadays, is like this talk-through technology. It goes by a couple different names. But basically, instead of having to take your headphones off if somebody tries to talk to you, or if you just want to listen around and hear your ambient sounds, you would have to just take your headphones off. But with these, you can leave your headphones on, press that button, and it takes the volume wherever it is, and it shrinks it. It doesn't get rid of it completely, but it becomes almost like a whisper in the background, so that it'll have actually a microphone that's on these headphones. Same with any headphones in which you can take phone calls with, and it basically emphasizes that microphone. And so it'll open up the mic, it'll be able to take in sounds around you. Honestly, if somebody's talking to me, what I wouldn't want to do personally is keep my headphones on and talk to them. And hey, for those who use this function and really like it, or would really like it, that's awesome. For me, if somebody's talking to me, it's almost instinct to remove my headphones. But if you're okay with keeping your headphones on and then talking to people while using the talk through function, then that's going to be great. I personally don't use it, but that might be something that appeals to some of you. But in an exercise environment, these are good headphones. They stay on. And I almost forgot one last feature, and that's the fact that you can remove the ear cups and you can wash them. I think that's phenomenal. The fact that they're perforated, they breathe when you're exercising is great on its own, but the fact that you can actually take them off and wash them, I think is a nice touch. Is it absolutely necessary? No, but I think it's a nice touch that they put in. The fact that you can remove them and you can replace them. So you can, if these rip or tear on you, you can actually buy new ones, which I think is nice to have. All right, guys, that was a bit of a lengthy review, but I hope you got something out of it. And again, make sure that if you're going to buy these, or if you're just going to give them a chance, they're on-ear headphones, and for me, they don't get quite loud enough, but at the end of the day, they do sound decent, and they do what they're intended for, which is for working out. Alright guys, thank you so much, and remember, adopt, don't shop.